Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today, let's predict the price trend of Nvidia stock. I am a swing investor, and I will not consider the price changes of a stock 1 month later. This channel only makes short-term price predictions for stocks, usually 1 to 3 weeks. Welcome to subscribe to this channel. Nvidia stock fell slightly on Friday, but the stock is still technically in an upward trend. However, the stock's rise in the past 2 weeks has been weak, and the willingness of bulls to push up the stock price has significantly decreased. The market's wait-and-see sentiment is getting stronger and stronger, and some capital may even withdraw from the market to avoid the risk of a stock price correction, which is mainly affected by the conflict in the Middle East. The stock's trading volume on Friday was significantly enlarged, and it is obvious that there is profitable capital selling. Although this does not mean that the stock price will definitely enter a downward trend, it still sends a negative signal, especially at such a high position, which indicates that the stock is also facing certain pullback pressure. We can see from the 30-minute chart of the stock. The stock rebounded again after a wave of selling from May 29th to 30th. From the trading volume here, we can see that a large amount of funds flowed out of the market during this wave of selling, but then the stock price rebounded again, indicating that the market still does not want the stock price to fall. Although the stock has maintained an upward trend after this wave of selling, the stock price has not risen significantly, but has moved slightly upward. Does this indicate that the market is trying to create a semicircular top? I think this is possible. The stock has tended to consolidate in the past 4 days, indicating that the stock still feels a certain pressure of callback. Although the signal of capital selling during the session is not obvious, the cumulative trading volume in recent trading days is also large. If the market is dominated by selling, the accumulated outflow of funds is also large. That is, the risk of the stock entering a callback or downward trend at the current position is still very large. Through the position distribution of the stock, we can see that in the past 3 weeks, the position volume of the stock in the $138.70 to $145.90 area has increased significantly. There should be a lot of funds flowing in here, but at the same time, there may also be a lot of funds flowing out of the market. The current position of the stock is favorable for bulls, and further rise in the stock price seems reasonable. But since the stock currently has a lot of profit capital accumulated in the low area, this will undoubtedly suppress the rise in the stock price, and the price performance of the stock in the last 4 days seems to prove this. If the stock price rises further, the next target price of the stock may be at the level of $155, but now there is obviously a lack of catalysts to push the stock price higher, and with the intensification of the conflict in the Middle East, I think the probability of further decline is greater than the probability of further rise. Of course, it seems that it is not easy for the bears to significantly lower the stock price, and the support position of the stock is also very obvious. The stock currently has a large number of positions distributed in the $132 to $138.70 area. If the stock price pulls back, then this should be the key support area of the stock. On Saturday, the United States attacked 3 Iranian nuclear facilities on the orders of President Donald Trump. In a brief speech to the American people at the White House on Saturday, Trump said that Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities had been completely destroyed. In retaliation, Iran launched about 30 missiles at Israel on Saturday night, injuring at least 12 people. On Sunday morning, Iran fired more missiles at Israel, hitting at least 10 locations, and more than a dozen Israelis were reportedly injured. Iran's foreign minister said on Sunday that Tehran reserves all options to defend its sovereignty and people. Trump warned Iran that after the attack, Iran would either have peace or tragedy. My view on this matter is that Iran's so-called good friends, Russia and China, are helpless against the U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear facilities and can do little to help, because they have their own problems and do not want to get deeply involved in this conflict, which also means that even if Iran retaliates against the United States, its means of retaliation are limited, but Iran has not yet attacked U.S. assets. It is indeed a difficult and embarrassing situation for Tehran. Without the military help of Russia and China, the Tehran regime may face a greater blow if it chooses to escalate this conflict, and it may even endanger its regime, but they may take limited retaliation, including attacks on U.S. oil infrastructure in the region and exerting influence on the Strait of Hormuz. Once Iran attempts to close the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most important oil choke point, it will undoubtedly push up global crude oil and natural gas prices and affect the global economy. Of course, the United States and Israel will not sit idly by and will certainly increase their attacks on Iran. In short, this conflict is far from over, and the ball is now on Iran's side. The degree of Iran's retaliation is the key to determining when this conflict will end. Of course, Iran may choose peaceful negotiations after limited retaliation in order to protect its regime. The market has been worried for days that the U.S. military may intervene in the Israeli-Iranian conflict that has lasted for more than a week. Now it seems that the United States has intervened militarily, but the current situation in the Middle East is still controllable. However, the stock market may react violently next week, oil-related stocks may soar sharply, and financial and technology stocks may be sold off by investors. Let's go back to the daily chart of the stock. Although the stock is still in good shape, as the conflict in the Middle East intensifies, the risk of market downside increases without other major positive news to hedge. In order to avoid risks, the stock may experience a larger correction. Of course, as mentioned earlier, the stock still has bullish forces supporting the stock price in the low area. This means that even if the stock price falls, there is a high possibility that the bullish forces of the stock will intervene in the stock at a certain height, but this does not mean that the stock price can rise further. Next, uncertainty will be the main theme of the market. In order to avoid the risk of further escalation of the conflict in the Middle East, capital may continue to flow out of the market. In this case, the stock may experience a slow downward trend, and the target price may be around $132. Okay guys, this is my price forecast for Nvidia stock. Thank you for watching. If you agree with my analysis, please share and subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next video.